G'day everyone, Professor Maple here. I've got some new redstone stuff I want to show you guys based on the composters added in the Snapshot 14 or 19, whatever year it is, 19W03C. You can tell I've been playing Minecraft for the last 5 years. This is a composter. It's got an empty state, it's got a full state. It's also got about, and it's easier to see from the top here, about 8 states in between, and eventually when it gets to the top level here, it'll sprout this little white dealie on the top here. You pop one more item in there and out pops a bone meal, which you can then use for whatever you want to use bone meal for, usually farming, I imagine. That's kind of the point of this. Now the composter, it interacts with hoppers, which makes it interesting as a redstone component. You can put items in the top. It'll automatically load in there. It'll make it sounds. There we go. And then and you see there it's still filling up. Now you'll notice I've had this straw bale in here. That won't go in through the side. It'll only go through the top. And then but straw is one of the things that, as you can see, works with that. So it'll create some bone meal. It's not a lot of bone meal per what you put in, even with the more high yield blocks and stuff, which we'll go over in a sec here. But one of the things about these 8 states of the composter I found is that you can get a comparator output from it. So I think you could probably use that for some sort of logic circuits where you need the first digit, second, third, etc. You could also use that for automated farming to a certain extent there, as well as the ability to move it with pistons. You could probably, like in the example here, you could probably have your farm flush itself. You'd probably have to replant it yourself, but unless you can find a way to seed dropper, hopper dispenser stuff above it or below it. Maybe below it might work. Maybe a mixture? Oh, there's a thought. Okay, I'm gonna hold on to that idea. Don't be afraid to try it yourself though. I'd like to see what you come up with. But yeah, so in theory, if you have a farm and if for some reason you want to get a comparator output from this or move it with a piston, you can do that. Alternatively, it could be a replacement for redstone blocks with comparators, or for cauldrons with comparators, that kind of thing, because it can be moved with pistons not only when it's empty and if it ever updates, there we go, but also when it's got stuff in it. So that's cool. Now this is a dispenser. I've also tried it with droppers. You can't, if my timer works here. There we go. Yeah, so you see when you try to use droppers and dispensers on it, it just dispenses the item into the world at the block. So I'm not sure if that's just from a side thing. Actually, let's give that a try in a sec here. Actually, we'll do this, and we'll do some of this. And we'll grab a dispenser. That's the one we want. And we'll put that down there. And we'll put this here. And grab some of this ammunition. Plop some of that in. I guess I had enough ammunition. Okay, so now we're going to see, do we get anything from here? Bone meal wise. Oh, that's empty. That's gone. Oh, no, that still did the same thing. So with dispensers and presumably also droppers, if loaded from the top, it's not going to work. It has to be a hopper from the top. Alright, so that's good to know. And also, I've noticed that, and I'll put a bunch of stuff in here. Put a bunch of stuff in there, it'll all go through, and you'll notice that we only get a redstone update to this observer when the state changes, not as each item goes through the composter. That's, I think, important. How? I don't know. Again, this is just more of a concept video than anything there. And then we also have here our 8 signal strength, so we can detect when a bone meal is created. Again, if you have it automatically going into a hopper, I'm not sure how useful that is, but it might be. I don't know. You tell me. You fiddle around with it yourself there. Now, different items do seem to have different rates of bone meal generation, I guess we could call it. And you'll see here the small fern and the large fern, and it's tricky getting used to what these look like now when you've been on the old textures so long. But yeah, the ferns seem to make the same amount. The sea pickles are decently high yield. The seagrass is not. I put a whole stack in each of these hoppers, and seagrass has yet to make a bone meal. So I think depending on how easy it is to farm the thing is how rare or how common the bone meal is for the thing. So sea pickles, they're easy. Well, you have to manually farm them, and you have to go out and find the right biome to harvest them from to start your farm. So I imagine that's why the yield is so high. Whereas seagrass, it's pretty common. You can just bone meal the bottom of a river or something. You can make a water source in your base and bone meal the bottom of that, and it'll yield some. So, and it's pretty easy to harvest with like flying machines and stuff. So I imagine that's why it's probably not very high yield for the bone meal. Mushrooms, we've got again high yield because they take forever to grow. Mushroom blocks seem to be slightly more high yield, not by much though. And again, I think we're still working in snapshots where it's only the stems that will work. As far as I'm aware, the actual mushroom block, like the tops, the brown and the red dot top dealies, don't go in, so heads up for that. And then speaking of things that don't go in, parts of a tree, planks, logs, presumably derivatives of those things, but I think sticks go through. We've got saplings will go through. They're pretty low yield because depending on the type of tree, and I might test to see if it varies between types of tree, but depending on the type of tree, they're pretty easy to farm saplings for. Again, leaves are similar, and vines, harvesting vines is kind of a manual thing, so I imagine that's why we get a decent yield there. So yeah, let me know in the comments, share it, and like the video if you want me to do a bit more of this testing with rates of bone meal generation. I hope this was a useful video for you. Hope if not useful, at least the mechanics shown here can be fun in some way that you find. Have a good now, have a good later, and I will see you next time I find another interesting thing in the snapshots. Goodbye.